Thank you guys for being here. Friday afternoon in our time on Pacific Coast. We've got 3 o'clock and it's currently a late night. It's 11 o'clock for my pal here in the UK. So I appreciate you being here late at night. I want to start
Glad
things
to be
off
here.
quickly by saying thank you so much to Five Star Guitars in Beaverton. They have been from the beginning supportive of me, and so they've provided me with a wonderful production microphone and a lot of partnerships in the community. So Five Star Guitars, go check them out at www.fivestarguitars.com and get yourself some gear, get your stuff repaired, get yourself some lessons, and treat yourself like a rock star. I also need to let people know about a really cool event happening tomorrow from 11 o'clock Pacific through the day. There are two streamed performances. There's a premiere at 11 Pacific, and then again, I believe the next one's at 4 p.m. But it is a virtual concert as a benefit for Direct Relief, which is a support organization for those on the front lines of the coronavirus fight. So it's put on by Abducted by the 80s, called Back to the Basement, featuring bands like Wang Chung and A Flock of Seagulls and Animotion, Real Life, Naked Eyes, New Shoes, The Escape Club, The Vapors. Don't want to leave anybody out. Nelson will be there, Information Society. There will be some guest surprises from Richard Blade, the famous K-Rock DJ, and also my girl downtown, Julie Brown, will be there. I think Tiffany will be making an appearance as well. And so if you go to www.abductedbythe80s.com, you can sign up on their mailing list. You'll get notified of all of the other shows that they put together. And you can get yourself into a drawing for some merchandise provided by the bands. There are all sorts of other t-shirts there. There are event t-shirts specific to Back to the Basement. Back to the Basement. All the proceeds from Back to the Basement t-shirts go to the Direct Relief Fund. And then if you want to buy other shirts, you can get wonderful Escape Club t-shirts or A Flock of Seagulls t-shirts or Wang Chung. Wang Chung's got a bunch of different ones. The show will culminate with a world premiere video from Wang Chung where they have rewritten Everybody Have Fun Tonight to be Everybody Stay Safe Tonight. And there are a lot of surprises. The videos by the Spoons are phenomenal. Performance by A Flock of Seagulls should be really interesting and cool to see. And yeah, so make sure you check it out. www.abductedbythe80s.com tomorrow, 11 o'clock Pacific. And with no further ado, all the way back to the early 80s, I'm going to go back and reminisce with my pal who, as mentioned in my promo, at one time he was an adversary. Just because of me, because of my insecurities. I was a little punk musician in Great Falls, Montana, wanting to I'm sorry, at that point I was in Bozeman, Montana. My guest was the burgeoning rock star in Great Falls, Montana. And I wanted, there could be only one. That's what I thought. So I'm so grateful that we've been brought together and have developed a really great friendship over the years because he's a phenomenal musician, but even more so, he's a really remarkable human being. My friend, James Jelvik, Mr. Jelvik, thank you for being here.
You're going to make my head explode, Kevin. This is
Well,
great.
when I talk to your students, they call me Mr. Rankin, right? So I feel a little too square.
Oh, well, I'll tell you what, that's been one of the most wonderful experiences for kids to be able to experience that and get a chance to ask questions and see all those kinds of things. The whole thing that you've done with all the shows that you've had over the last few weeks has been absolutely amazing. A great learning experience. I was telling you, I think that really you guys should be putting together some chapters of, what's the way forward for, burgeoning musicians that want to try and give it a go, especially in this day and age and how things are changing so rapidly. Because you're saying, there's certainly pitfalls along the way, but wow, it's just been fantastic.
Thank you.
Been doing lately. Yeah.
Just a happy accident. I'm just having fun with it, But you've seriously been along from the beginning. Every single episode, it seems like you've got questions for the guests that I have, or you'll have some funny anecdote or like a memory, and you're helping promote and share. And I really do appreciate the support.
Well, it's like I say, that's the one thing that to me is so important is trying to get music to as many people as possible, because that's the one kind of therapy in life that I think that everybody needs to have in one way or another, either by listening, being a fan, playing music. It's for me, it brought me out of my shell a lot, because when I was back to that punk kid
Yeah.
in 7th grade, I was so shy.
Were you?
Yeah, I was terribly shy, and so getting on the drums to start with kind of brought me out of my shell a little bit, and getting on the guitar and getting on the stage there a little bit kind of brought me out of that to a large degree. So, and eventually it's just the enjoyment of music and all the experiences on the way. It's been amazing.
I hear her. I hear her.
She's
Is that Katie?
Yeah. It is Katie, yeah.
You want to bring her in real quick to say hi?
Katie, do you want to come say hello to Kevin for a minute?
Guys, you have to know that this little doll. Hi, sweetie. How you doing? I don't have my purple hair anymore. Sad. I need my hair girl. She needs to come back. I just have regular hair now. Silly, huh?
So what color should we have it next? What color?
Purple again.
Purple again. All right.
I am agree. Hey, Katie.
Katie, oops, what's asking?
Hey, thank you for being so nice to me and my family when we come through and making me little wrist bracelets. That's very nice. Thank you.
She's working on a new one, by the way. So.
Oh, I hear your drumsticks too. Are you going to go play?
Well, no. You see, I was going to say I'm going to do some shameless promotion here.
Look at this.
If you don't already use Vader sticks, you need to be using Vader sticks. Now, this goes to the most cool story. When you came to stay with us, it was such a fantastic surprise afterwards. To go out and thinking, those aren't my sticks. And I'm looking at this really carefully. And you left these, it was just so nice of you. Where it says, thanks for the hospitality and the friendship. Love to your beautiful family. It was just such a wonderful moment. So thank you so much for these.
Oh, buddy, I meant it. It was so nice to come through, and a real blessing, right? That you're there in the Midlands. You're right in the heart of the UK. We had come through. We played in Belgium, I think the night before, and then raced up. We were on our way to Liverpool. Nolan was did we catch you on the way to or from? I can't remember.
From. You went to Liverpool and you guys were heading on down. So yeah, it was That's nice to be able to catch up with you and just and meet Nolan. It was great. So he's such a I have to say, being kind of the mushy character I am, I was in tears just about watching the graduation. I just thought it was such an amazing experience. I know it's one of those things that it's not the standard kind of graduation, but this is something that's going to be a part of history that he's been part of with that. And it's the way that the school put that on was just phenomenal. So it was really fun to see.
Thank you. I was grateful for it because he'd been really, really sad leading up to that. Graduation ceremony, prom, all those things. He didn't go to prom all his entire high school. He had been looking forward to it this time. And the rite of passage of graduation and tossing your cap in the air and taking pictures with your buddies and all that. But, seeing it as a point in history that you look back and you'll remember it for different reasons that might be really special. Sammy Hagar actually put a post out yesterday on Instagram that was aimed at the 2020 grads that was really just heartfelt. It was really cool to see. And then President Obama issued another 2020 graduation speech that I thought it was poignant and really supportive. It really inspired hope and a future for kids. So I thought, if there's got to be some sort of silver lining to it all, that they get this opportunity to have something different and have real prominent figures as a champion in their court. So
exactly, and I think everyone's going to be in their court. And the nice thing, obviously, is when this is all done and finished, I know that people are going to go ahead and they're going to put those things together and have those events and make up for lost time.
Yeah,
It's,
yeah.
yeah.
But man, as an educator, you've had to navigate some crazy stuff through this whole thing. So, uh, I mentioned a little bit during Alan Hunter's interview just a bit ago, because his wife is a professor as well. And he's got two kids, 12 and 14, that had to navigate the distance learning school, the distance learning.
Right.
So how are things happening in the UK? I know that they shut down hard in the UK, right? At an early point. So tell me a
It,
little bit about
it,
this.
uh, it was kind of a yes and no. It was some of the they shut the schools down very, very quickly, which is quite a smart thing. It's the travels where they kind of, I think, probably where things messed up a little bit, where they didn't kind of stop and say that people that are coming into the UK need to self-isolate. And I think that's probably where we kind of blew up and had the problems where we're at. But yeah, the schools immediately reacted to that. And so it was one of those things that immediately, we were learning just on the fly all these different things of sending out work to our kids and finding new ways to kind of keep in touch and phoning them on a weekly basis. Really, really, kind of innovative kind of thing. And it's one of those things, it makes me chuckle because Katie, obviously being a 7-year-old and her being at home as well, taking over her schooling, it's a lot more difficult when you're teaching your own kids.
Oh, yeah, I'm sure.
So I think whenever it's finished with all this and their kids are going back, I think they'll really appreciate, kind of what teachers kind of go through on that side of it. And then also as a teacher myself, I certainly appreciate being back with the kids and again, on a limited basis. We're coming in and keeping kind of call have limited contact with others and trying to make. I've had anywhere from small to children, and then how things go for. It's a bit nerve-wracking at the moment because there's been so many things going on. Obviously, with George Floyd, and the protests have been here in the UK as well, in that side of it. So it's really important that people are speaking their voice. It's just, the only thing I'm worried is the distance of people kind of lost that thing. And you see things where people here in the UK, the R factor is starting to pick up again, which is always a worrying kind of thing.
Right.
I think probably the worst thing for me is we've really, as a family, followed everything direction-wise that they've asked us to do, where we've kept to ourselves our own little bubble with the family, just the four of us. I'm the only one that's been going out to do shopping,
Okay.
Get the grocery shopping for the family and for my in-laws. And it's one of those kind of things that I'm always, I feel really terrified. What if I catch this?
Right.
If I pass this on, I would be, just a terrible thing to think about, from that side. But I do worry about that.
You go out with masks and kind of like the hand sanitizer, and you come back in and scrub down.
Yeah, I was gonna say my hands have never been so dry in all my life. It's been, that side of it. And obviously, when you're working with children as well, you're always thinking you don't want to pass it on to anyone. So just being really, really careful. And it's been tough because, sometimes, around the neighborhood, you'll see sometimes where other children might not be following that kind of thing. And so trying to tell your doctor, we've got to do what's safe and right for the time being. It's been a really, really interesting kind of journey. But I kind of think about it and I think, well, we're very, very lucky in a lot of ways. Yes, we're kind of isolated in one sense, but by golly, can you imagine, I think about my mother growing up on a farm in Plainwood, Montana, way out in the middle of nowhere with her brother and but my grandpa, my grandma, being quite isolated from a lot of things all the time. And you didn't have the television, you had the radio, you had some of the things, we're just so lucky. All the social media that we've got, all this show here, like I
Right.
said, that's what God's for me. I've been watching Jennifer Batten.
Oh yeah.
It's just trying to find those kinds of things that keep you ticking along. And again, music for me, that's the one thing that's really been there. Sarah and I have had a chance to kind of just do some fun things together, and
That's right.
that side of it. So yeah.
To find something inspired is really important. You talked about social media. Blessed that we have it because it kind of can connect people. At the same time, it's been pretty divisive, right?
It
I
sure
think
has.
I'm grateful to have had this platform to be able to use Facebook Live to stream the Zoom conferences. I am going to switch over to migrate to YouTube. I archive them on YouTube, but I'll
I've been
switch.
watching. Yeah, I check them out on there.
Okay,
Yeah.
yeah, and then
Yeah.
it's I should tell people do go to the YouTube channel. There's a link to it in my All Access Live Facebook page. But once I hit 500 subscribers, I'm going to start giving away gift cards, and so I'm going to hit at 500. I'll give away a couple of $50 gift cards for Amazon, and then I've got a couple of other milestones along the way. But eventually, I'm going to stream entirely through YouTube. I try to stay off Facebook as much as I can because it's unfortunate that my anxiety level rises when I can see too much drama, right?
Yeah.
I look at the stuff that's in my control and what's not, and I think, okay, I got a family to work on. I got my own stuff to work on. And it's great if you can see people's meals that they prepared and see cute animal videos. I'm all down with that. Not trying to stick my head in the sand about any kind of, international or national issues. But I find very little conversations that are productive happening there. If I can have a conversation with somebody, even if we have a difference of opinion, I'm down with it. But I don't want to get into, name calling and that kind of stuff,
Exactly. And I've been completely guilty of that myself. It's one of those things, but I've changed my whole look at that. I'm not going to engage in that anymore because it's not worth it. It's one of those things that I've got a lot of friends that have very diverse opinions to mine.
Sure.
So I'm going to, talk about other things and enjoy that side because, for me, the connection with the rest of the world is quite important along the way. When I moved to the UK, it was, starting kind of a fresh where didn't have my base of friends that it was close to, and Facebook kind of opened that up. And I think kind of moving forward, that's what we, as a society and as a as the planet in general,
Sure.
just need to kind of focus a little bit on being a little bit nicer to each other and more supportive of each other on the way. Because it's as you say, it's a shame to see people continuously digging each other. And again, I'm just as guilty on it, but I'm changing my tone on it. So yeah,
there's some human nature part of that, to have,
yeah.
because we're different, that we are disconnected, right? I mean, but
Right.
it takes work to connect people if they have a difference of opinion or a different, but whatever, different race, different ethnicity, or different political beliefs or sexual preference or whatever. I had a friend who had a company here in Portland started called Same Underneath, and it's that we're all the same under the skin, right? So I loved that concept, and
Yeah.
my approach is that with any of my dealings out on the web or when I'm playing music, I love the big music festivals that come together where there's such a diversity of people, and chances are really good that a lot of those people don't have the same political beliefs, or they may have racial bias or sexual bias or anything like that. But that stuff doesn't come out. You can see the innate human nature part that's really good because music kind of speaks for that, and so I
Exactly. Yeah.
yeah,
And I think again, like I say, kind of we, growing up in Montana, we were a little bit isolated from learning a little bit about the world, and it's changing quite a bit now. Yeah, it's about a lot. Yes.
Oh,
and so that's one of those things that life lessons along the way that, wow, once you start to meet people from other cultures and hear their ideas and their thoughts, and you find those commonalities, you think, well, the world really is a small place, and that if we're all just a little bit nicer to each other, listen to each other a little bit more, we find out, hey, this is someone that is a great friend to be with. I think
Yeah.
back to the junior high days. I can remember there was uh, a kid that came into our school that he had one of the first tails, and he dressed up in the parachute pants and everything. Thought, wow, he's kind of a weird character and all that.
Is that
But then it
Bear?
turned out, he just looked
Bear?
different to everyone. No, it wasn't. No, not Bear Lazelle. No.
Okay.
Oh, Bear was a character in himself. Yeah.
Yeah. All right.
God rest his soul. He just passed away recently, didn't he? But no, it was Kurt Cipher, and he was only at the school for about a year, but he had a guitar. So it's one of those things. We formed. That was the first sort of little rock band that we formed, and we were playing Scorpions, "Rock You Like a Hurricane," and it was one of those things. He was showing me these things that he learned on the electric guitar. That, oh, this is awesome. So we struck an amazing friendship. But I almost missed out on that because of the fact that he looks a bit different than I do. So
right.
which
It was so cliquish then. I mean, every junior high student goes through their phase of cliques but Montana, pretty closed-minded in a lot of ways, and not to paint a broad paintbrush or broad stroke on that, but I do know, that it was, if you were different, it was certainly not, looked upon as cool.
Exactly. A very, very different experience. And again, like I say, that's, you learn from those experiences. You learn that, wow, at different times I was prejudiced for one reason or another for no reason. And,
right.
Moving to the UK has been such a cultural experience, with the kids that I've had over the last 15, 16 years, getting to meet them, their families, and look at the different backgrounds and folks from all over the world. It's been just an amazing experience and a lot of fun.
Yeah, you've been there that long. Hi, Katie.
Yeah.
There she is.
Yeah.
Wow, 15 years. I think about, we met not much older than Katie is right there. But you said you started playing drums, right?
Yeah.
That was,
in fact, I think probably the first time that I might have met you, I didn't know. For some
Jim, you dropped out for a second there. Sorry, you froze up. If you can hear me, hang tight, see if it comes back for you in a moment.
Knew you were such
hey, Jim.
A positive. Oh, yeah.
You froze up for a second there. So you just said you couldn't remember when we first met, but
I think it was at a dance at West Junior High School that I didn't know why you would have been there, but I was playing drums for something because I was DJing, and then played drums for a couple songs, and you came up afterwards, and we had a good chat. And the funny thing about you is you always kind of paint yourself as this guy that was rambunctious, but quite the contrary. You were the most positive, uplifting person even back at that point. You were so inspiring and just really, really like to lift people's spirits up right from the get-go. So it's a natural
buddy.
Got with you.
I'm glad that that's the experience you have, because my memory was that I went to North Junior High, but Jen Seeley and I were dating, but her friends were all over at West, so that's probably why I went to the dance over there, because I would come back from Bozeman when I moved to I went to high school in Bozeman, and I would go see Jen, and we would go to the dances over there. And at that point, when I started playing drums, I was still a young punk drummer, right? And there was a drummer in Helena, Mark Sickage, and you. And there were a couple of other Great Falls guys that I was jealous of. That's all it was, man. You guys, your band, the 11th Hour, really started taking off. And I was...
the thing is, I was such a terrible hack.
Dude, I still am. I am, but I remember thinking I want all the attention that guy's getting. I know that, and unfortunately, it's selfishly that I would go to town. You probably didn't know this about me, but I would drive the 3 hours to Great Falls with my drums in the back of my truck. And then Steve Delaplank would drive my truck back and forth up Main Street while I played drums going around Central. I'd play my drums.
Yeah.
We'd have the little window pulled aside, in my little Nissan truck, and I'd be blasting Motley Crue and Scorpions as we drive up Central, and police would always get called. Steve's on here, by the way. He just says, "Hey, Jim," but I think I just so wanted attention. Well, I'll tell you why. I had such a chip on my shoulder, man. I was a really insecure punk little kid. Went to St. Joe's Catholic school over there on the west side. Went to Our Lady of Lourdes for a little bit, and then I moved out of that one. But I got beat up a lot on the way to school. Like, there was a group of guys that would hold me while the sixth graders would hold me as a first grader. I'm first grade, they're sixth grade. They'd hold me while they had the kindergartners kick me in the nuts. And and then they'd steal my bike a whole bunch of times. And so I just developed a chip. I was just an angry punk kid and full of Catholic guilt. And as an altar boy, and they kicked me out of being an altar boy. So I had, I had to, well, because I was out, I'd stay up all night, and then I'd go out early in the morning, 4:00 in the morning, to the 7-Eleven, eat donuts, and play Defender. And so then I passed out on the altar a couple of times, and they said, you're not cut out for this thing, man.
It's one of those long sermons that go on, and it's like,
don't lock your knees, man. Yep. I wasn't cut out for it, but I held all this angst for so long, and I had a chip on my shoulder about being accepted. And I was going to show them in Great Falls when I went back that I'd be, whatever. So,
and you did.
Well, I just, I think I'm really grateful to be able to let go of a lot of that stuff. And you?
Yeah. Well, I was going to say too, that the thing is, you had such a work ethic on learning to play the drums. And wow, did you pick things up quickly? Because I noticed right away, because I know right from where you kind of started at.
Yeah.
To how quickly you started picking things up. And suddenly I'm watching Kevin Rankin doing double bass drum, and things I'm thinking, I'll never be able to do that. It was nice to see that, because I thought, wow, he's really got it. And, right from the get-go, I thought, yeah, he knows exactly what he wants and how he's going to do this. And by golly, he made it work. And again, if you work at it, because as you said, you spend a lot of time practicing out in the woods. It's one of those things that, when I look and I see musicians along the way and children that I've taught, you can see which ones can really pick up things quickly, but they also really work at it as well too.
Yeah.
And it's not something that, you can just say, okay, well, I can just do it instantly. Well,
right.
I suppose, occasionally there's some geniuses like that, but
right.
The rest of us are going to work really hard to get there. Yeah.
None of that stuff I can do anymore anyway. So, but I was grateful though that you didn't have the crutch and the edge, that you held against me. Because, when our bands were playing through high school and we were playing the dances and all that kind of thing, and your name was always, on the radar, by the time I got to college, we went our separate ways kind of, when I eventually moved out to Portland, but social media brought us together, which is really cool. Right. That I remember when you reached
it. Say, Sarah's just over here. So,
hi, Sarah. How are you? Good to see you, hon. Oh, I just realized that we're keeping you up so late right now. It's 11:30.
Hey, it's Friday, so this is disco night. So it's like we thought, okay, well, we'll move into the music room and do some.
Yeah, you could put the disco ball on and dim the lights if you want. That's fine. Yeah.
So there we go. Yeah, exactly.
Nice.
So
that's cool.
I'd say that's been another interesting thing along the way too, because as a side, again, like you say, some of that therapy, even though I'm not playing in a band, occasionally I do some DJing as well for a lot of different things, and that's always a lot of fun. Because again, some of the different weddings that I've done. I did a wedding a year ago that it was two families, one from Poland and one from Romania. And by God, it was really difficult getting all the music together that they wanted.
Oh, yeah, right.
But my God, that was the most fun wedding I've ever been to, because those guys did not stop dancing the whole night through. It was just such a great experience from that. I was just left with a big grin on my face, even though I had no idea what any of the music was. Couldn't understand
They
the
picked the
lyrics.
music. You didn't just
Yeah.
say, "I'm just going to play a flock of seagulls and we're good." You didn't do that.
Well, I always drop in a flock of seagulls. I'll tell you what.
It works.
It's fun, because when obviously you get to some of the events where it's folks our age now,
Yeah.
it's nice to be able to play some of the songs of the 80s. And it's also interesting to kind of just see, obviously, some of the songs that we never heard in America that were really popular in the UK.
Right.
I think, wow, this is quite interesting. For instance, like Northern Soul, I'd never really heard of that style of music before, but essentially it's sort of like Motown style, but it just it was kind of kept up as a trend in I think probably in the 80s. And so you listen to that, hey, there's some great music as well, so you learn a whole bunch along the way.
Well, you've had the ability to sort of keep an open mind about all sorts of music. You're a prog fan. I know that like Marillion was one of the bands that you're way into, and so you love prog music. Yeah, Rush. Can't go wrong with Rush, man. Yeah. I just heard an isolated bass track of Tom Sawyer that's going around right now of Geddy. Oh man, he's he's the man.
I'll tell you what. Yeah, it's interesting because the first time I ever kind of heard Rush, I didn't like Geddy's voice, but now it's one of those things that, man, I just love listening to him. The whole thing with that particular band, you look at like the likes of Alex Lifeson. I could just sit there and watch him all day because he's so funny. I mean, the guy,
he is funny. Yeah, like he's one of the guys that you just want to sit down with, just like have a drink with him, talk to him about whatever, and that he'd be a fun hang. But your doppelganger, Bruce Dickinson, kind of seems like that to me too. So I've always said, man, you guys do look a lot alike, and he is one of those guys that he's iconic. In
oh my
history,
gosh, the things he's done.
It's
he's
crazy.
A historian.
Yeah.
He's an airline pilot. He was on University Challenge on like a celebrity version, and he was answering every question along the way. And there were questions like, haven't a clue what this would be. He's really intelligent. If you haven't had a chance to read his biography yet, it's phenomenally funny, especially. What does this button do?
Okay. Nice.
So, yeah,
that's
and
great.
so it was fun because he was up in Nottingham, so he was signing books there. So I got a chance to go up and see him there. And I said, "You don't know how long I've been waiting for this moment." She said, "What? What are you on about?" I said, "Never mind, but thank you."
But you got a picture together, right?
Yeah.
Is it on your Facebook page?
It's on there somewhere. Yeah.
I was just thinking we got to find the doppelganger picture and share that with peeps. I also I saw that a whole bunch of people were chiming in our little conversation here. So lots of Vontanans, right? You still keep in touch with everybody from back? Well, not everybody, but people back in the day. Jim? Oh, sorry.
Here and there. Yeah, again, like I say, on Facebook, I do try and keep in touch with things and see how they're doing. And it's one of the things that it's just nice. And again, where you come across a lot of friends that now you realize there's a lot of commonalities, so you can have some fun conversations along the way. Such John Loway, he's we didn't hang out so much in high school, but I love just seeing some of the things that he talks about. He's just kind of one of those fun characters on the world. So from that, I'd like to be able to see people more often, but it's one of those things that I would say if anyone is ever heading through the UK, there's always an open door here, and a place to stay. So as I say, it's one of those things that I miss home sometimes, but it's one of those things now that there'll be some things I miss from home, and some things that when I'm back home, I miss things from the UK as well. So
yeah, oh, that's so funny. Your bride just says, Jim, it's your Facebook profile picture. But Oh,
Is it?
you,
Okay.
yeah, all right. So let me share the screen here. That's so funny. Whoops, there. See, leave it to your wife to. There we go. This
Oh,
is you.
yeah.
You and whoops. I'm gonna go back. Oh, there's you and Jennifer Batten.
Oh,
There's you and
Jennifer.
Bruce.
Yeah.
Yeah, like he looks so unassuming there, right, with this little T-shirt and this little book signing.
Yeah.
But
He,
and
he
I
sort of like, here's your book, on you go. No, but no, he was quite a nice guy. Like I say, he's just a very clever man. So yeah, it's one of those things. He's sort of like Ronnie James Dio, where he's got this massive voice, and his personality on stage is just second to none.
right.
But he's not the tallest guy in the world. It's like, wow, but man, is he amazing.
Good.
And he still sounds phenomenal to this day.
Amazing.
And that's one of my favorite pictures with Jennifer. I'll tell you what, growing up as a kid, we didn't have the internet.
Right.
But by golly, every month I used to pick up the magazine Guitar for the Practicing Musician. And she used to write a column in that I think it was every month.
Okay.
Where she would talk about tapping techniques. And man, she was just amazing from the get-go. So I always was a huge fan of her tone. Like I say, when I listen to her and, the likes of Jeff Beck, and you can see why Jeff Beck chose her to play with him, her tone is so recognizable and is just so magical. It's incredible. She has worked so hard all her life on playing the guitar from the age of 8. And, looking at how she's, would practice with the metronome and take measurements of things and how fast she was increasing it and keeping records of it. Just an amazing person, and so funny.
It's true.
Oh,
yeah. You've been a huge supporter of hers too, and her endeavors. She is one of my favorite people on the planet. I really do consider her like a sister.
I can see why.
And and that story, like when she moved here and asked me to play with her, the phone call that I got, I thought it was a prank, and so I was like,
yeah, right, yeah,
not Jennifer Mann. But over time, as we started playing together, you just felt like, she's just so down to earth, so humble, so unassuming too, and she's so funny. Oh my God, she's just she's got potty humor, and she has a Saturday night like sort of Zoom party where a few people will get together, and some people will have like a glass of wine and just have it be a social hour kind of thing. So her happy hour. I usually come in late, and so there've been a few glasses of wine and people already, and I haven't laughed that hard in so long. It's such a nice thing that you can.
Well, again, I watch her show as well that she's got, because I always say, I know I keep saying this, Jennifer, but it's one of those things that makes my day, and I always have a good laugh because her stories. She's just, as you say, you think, okay, well, here's this person that's been with Michael Jackson,
right,
and traveled the world. She could be the snobbiest person, very aloof, but she's not. She is just the loveliest, funniest person, with the funniest anecdotes, and just how kind she was to. Because I had asked obviously about going to see her in Birmingham at that guitar clinic that she did on the way, and man, she was just so nice to the children that were there with me, and it was just a great experience, and she made it something really special, because again, in that guitar club I had, I think it was predominantly girls in that guitar club, and it was nice to see such an amazing role model. She's got, she certainly paved the way for guitarists, and then now you got the likes of Nita Strauss as well. And the nice thing is that you see that they not only are taking on the persona of playing these massive gigs, but they're also great teachers as well, because she's also a phenomenal teacher. And Nita Strauss, I know she's also teaching as well. And
good.
Yeah, Glenn Sobel, you see, obviously he likes to do that. So that's the one. I love the network of people that you've got around you, because not only are they such professionals in what they do, but also teaching others and getting others into that. Again, not having any of the big head kind of thing. They're just great people.
I, I do have to say I'm blessed to have those people in my life, people like you, just you're, I watch the way that the kids revere you in the classroom. We've done a couple of sessions where you've done a
We
Q
sure
and
did.
A. You've come up with some questions, or the kids have come up with questions,
Yeah.
and you'll bring me on doing kind of like
The,
this.
sort of
And
like rock journalist for a day kind of thing. Yeah.
right. See, I
Yep.
remember being at the NAM show, crazy loud in the Hilton, probably 2 o'clock in the morning when the big party at the Hilton lobby is shutting down. There are probably 5,000 drunk musicians back behind me. And I'm at this little cubby in the Starbucks window. And I've got I think, I think I tried to do it on a laptop. And so I'm carrying my laptop like a little geek, through this big crowd of, excuse me, Brad Gillis, and, like, whomever, please move aside so I can go do this podcast thing. But all those kids came on and had really thoughtful questions, and they were so polite. And when you would ask them something, it was, you could tell that they were respectful but engaged. I really could see that you have an ability to engage with these kids. And as a dad, I understand how important it is to be able to have a connection where these kids aren't just tuning you out. So as an educator, we could talk about really what got you into teaching in the first place. But I think about this year in particular, man, coronavirus beside, you had your life turned upside down, man, like in the school system.
Oh yeah.
You want to talk a
Yeah.
little bit about that?
Yeah. It was been at a private school for the last 13 years, and we woke up one morning and uh, with all these phone calls, have you been paid today? No. And so then I was kind of panic setting in, and the whole place had just shut down right in the middle of summertime, which left obviously, over 100 children looking for schools all of a sudden, including Katie. We had to find a place for her. We were absolutely devastated because that school was such a unique place where it was a family affair all the way through. Everyone knew everyone. The families were amazing. I always called it the working man's private school because all of the parents there all worked really, really hard, and had very, very amazing careers themselves, and they had really high expectations for their kids. So their kids had high expectations, and the teachers had high expectations, and we were able to do a lot of really creative things on the way with music side of things and shows. Sarah, the shows that she put on were just phenomenal for working with a kid with basically a school that wasn't a stage school. But boy, we would always think, okay, we've got this kid over here, he's a phenomenal rapper, so we're going to put him into this. We'll do this rap with him. We've got her over here, she's a great singer, we'll do this. She's a phenomenal actress, so
Wow.
all that side. So we lost that. It was really the most gut-wrenching experience. It was just like being, having everything torn out from underneath us. And so you have to kind of pick yourselves up, reinvent yourself. We've been so fortunate, obviously, because again, like say with technology, everything, we're all in a WhatsApp group, so we're always there for each other and supporting each other and making each other laugh along the way, and
Oh, that
helping
is
each other
good.
find a job. And
Really?
yeah, it
Yes.
was something else.
You've
And
had support.
again, like I said,
Sorry, I didn't
oh,
want
go
to
ahead.
interrupt. I was going to say, like, you had support of the other teachers helping you kind of look for other work and making referrals. And wow,
Yeah.
that, and you think about how competitive, some of the industries can be, where you would think that they just be all out for themselves and just trying to get their own gig and not necessarily looking out for their
No, yeah, exactly. We were
coworkers.
completely a family. It's all the way through, and always, there to support each other through every endeavor that we've had through all those years. So, again, it's still nice to have them that way, and still be able to kind of laugh about things on the way too.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, you know, man, overcoming adversity, being able to laugh at it on the other side. Like right now, coronavirus is kicking the whole world's ass. And sorry, I know you have students watching. The whole world's um, kicking the whole world's behind, and hopefully, not that we'll laugh about it eventually, but it will pass at some point.
Yeah.
And like you said, hopefully we'll develop some, some real positive sides of this in the other end. Um, but I think about other adversity, right? I mean, you came to the UK um, married, and I think you came from because your ex-wife wanted to move there. And when I say ex, I'm sorry, your previous wife. You want to talk
Yeah.
a little bit about that transition? And
Yeah, it was one of those things, you kind of, sometimes you think, okay, you've got control of your world.
Jim, hang tight.
Control
Jim,
your
Jim,
just
Jim, hold tight. You froze up. Jim,
all and
hey Jim, Jim,
uh,
Jim.
uh, just think
Hold tight, buddy. Hey Jim,
and
Jim,
well,
hold tight, buddy.
Yeah.
Your internet froze
Yeah.
up. Yeah, I'm so sorry. Right when you began that conversation, I saw your internet drop there for a second, so you froze up. And I felt like this is an important place. We don't want to miss this. So you said right when you feel like you've got control of your life.
Yeah, that sometimes you suddenly will have. Oh yeah, I think I'm back on now. Sarah just said you froze.
Yeah.
Yeah, you do. You think, okay, well, I've got control of this kind of situation, and she just finished law school, and literally within just right when she graduated, gets this diagnosis of having multiple sclerosis, and it started really wreaking havoc with her quite quickly. And she had just had Thomas, so we had Thomas, and so that's when we decided that we needed to move back to the UK so she'd be close to family and that they could be there to try and help support her. And yeah, her health declined very, very quickly. And so it's one of those kinds of things that you go through a lot of guilt because you're thinking, why isn't it me instead?
Right. Sure.
Because, with a son, sorry.
No, it's okay, buddy.
Not having a mother was tough for me at first, but
Jim, you're there in the UK.
Exactly. So, she finally got to that point where, it was just, you were kind of hoping that she could let go because, she couldn't eat anymore. I was just kind of on, 24-hour care in a hospital bed. It was tough. So, but again,
were her parents there?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And so, her parents were there to be supportive as well. And so Thomas's grandmother kind of became his mother for that period of time. And but as we got, after she passed, Sarah and I, we found each other. And so there's always, kind of that silver lining to the cloud there. She's been absolutely amazing because we always had so much in common, working and teaching together at the school and doing all these different things for drama. And, she's been the absolute rainbow of my life. And, obviously, she's been so good for Thomas. She certainly gives Thomas a good little lashing every now and again. Yeah. So when he's being kind of a moody teenager,
which sometimes they need.
Yeah, exactly.
I love Thomas.
It's one of those things that then obviously we had Katie, so that's another blessing. So it's kind of certain doors close, and you think, okay, well, this is the way it was going to be. It didn't work out that way, but then you all of a sudden you've got something else that is amazing. So it's always trying to keep positive all the way through all the most difficult times. To think, okay, always make sure that network that's around you, that let them take care of you, because sometimes you need that. Really, really important.
Being able to ask for help is
Exactly.
certainly hard. As a
Yeah.
man, it's a lot of times it's hard too, right? To ask for help, ask for directions. And it's
Exactly, because
the stereotype, but
us guys don't like to do that kind of stuff.
right.
But yeah,
Yeah.
I I kind of surrendered and did, and it's one of those things that also along the way, you learn a lot of things about how many great people are out there, because I know that you've done a lot of work with Horns for the Homeless,
Yeah.
and helping folks that need that help along the way. 'Cause, as soon as all the hospital stuff started coming around, like hospital beds, uh, hoists, really expensive wheelchairs, all these charities were there to kind of help out, because as a teacher, you're not making
Right.
a grandiose salary. You're doing all right, but it's really expensive, all this kind of equipment. And there were a lot of really good charities that helped, with Red Cross and all that. So it's one of those things that you always think, does your money help? Yes, it does, because I'm a direct recipient of that help when we really needed it. So yeah.
That's good to know, man. I wonder about, any kind of socialized medicine, a country that has sort of a central medicine that can be there for the people. It's big, hot button for the US, and, you can see places where it really works. And um,
Yeah.
I'm wondering, did you feel supported in that realm there? Did you feel like you had
Yeah.
the right kind of care that you needed?
There was, there were certain, there's always going to be difficulties along the way. And it's one of those things that, uh, I just don't see how anyone can say that healthcare should be a right for every person on the planet to be able to seek some sort of healthcare.
Yeah.
The NHS here in the UK isn't always perfect, but I know that if I do get really sick, that I can go there and I'm not going to end up, losing my house,
Right.
kind of in those situations. Because I think about, I was working for a while Jessica was at law school, at Target, and there was a college student there who worked for me. He had something happen where his lung collapsed, and he didn't have health insurance. And right there was a $58,000
Mm,
bill, which I can imagine nowadays would probably be probably 3, 4 times that kind of
that's right.
price.
Yeah.
And so it's one of those things that it's really frustrating to think that people have to kind of think, well, do I get my medicine or do I eat, kind of
Right.
thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, I mean, it's life or death. It's not just it's not a political ploy or anything like that. It's people that really may not survive if they don't get the assistance. And I,
Exactly.
I,
Yeah.
I, I try to, I ask this question of friends everywhere. I mean, I've got a bunch of friends in Australia and Thailand, and I mean, I'm always, especially right now with the coronavirus, governments are trying to deal with um, quarantine and sort of social distance guidelines, and businesses that have to be shut. I'm wondering about like teachers that have been furloughed, right? Teachers, obviously, schools shut down. Some teachers are just able to teach online, right? But
Yeah.
but
I was quite fortunate, because I had picked up a job in a little town not too far down the road, and so we've been working the whole time. So it's working from home, but again, contacting parents, talking to the kids, putting work online, and doing a lot of other kind of training things along the way, and then kind of figuring our way forward at the moment.
sure.
So teaching profession is one of those kind of things that, ironically, you're always going to need teachers no matter what.
Right.
So we're probably some of the most fortunate people in a lot of ways, which, again, that's where we really feel for folks that have been furloughed and, risk losing their jobs. Because I think that's probably my biggest fear is, what's going to happen in the next 5 years. It's a really interesting question to think, how we're going to be really innovative and bring things back quickly, and get people back into work as quick as possible. And
Sure.
maybe for instance, it'll be interesting to even think about how there might be some mindset changes on how it can impact the world in a positive manner, where those folks that might be able to actually work from home more often don't now have to commute and drive and
Pollute the air and yeah,
exactly, yeah,
yeah. No, there are silver linings to be found for sure.
yeah,
I love having that perspective, talking to every guest about this, because we don't necessarily have to focus on the negative part of the pandemic. Everybody's dealing with it, right? I mean, not just
yeah.
the health impact, but the financial impact and all that other stuff. It's real life stuff. Even
Well, and particularly for the music industry, yeah, as you say, that's what you guys do. You're on the road, and by golly, what a kick in the teeth it is to suddenly say, I can't get out and play, which is
mm,
which is what you love to do. It's
yeah, but
uh,
an inconvenience is one thing, and I don't mean to
yeah,
interrupt you, but I really worry about venues. I really worry about the venues and business owners and people that they are absolutely dependent on it. I'm fortunate
yeah,
that I do well with gigs and playing with a flock of seagulls, but I've got a web design business. Businesses start to come back around. People are loosening up their pocketbooks a little bit, and
yeah,
I'm very grateful. Still waiting to see, because there are different levels of unemployment
yeah,
stipends here, right? And so they open for the first time an opportunity for gig workers to get an unemployment.
yeah,
Every person I know that applied for that unemployment package has not received anything yet, but we'll see how that goes.
yeah,
I mean, it's a new program and it'll probably take a while. And like, just like anything else, I expect that there will be bugs in the system,
yeah,
and I'm wondering about we saw that New Zealand, that their prime minister dedicated 150 or 170 million dollars towards restoration of arts and music culture.
yeah.
So what's the UK like right now? Is there any kind of like fund that's put together to help sort of sustain the cultural?
They have been. That'll be obviously kind of the next sort of challenge too, because we obviously paying off quite a large debt for quite some amount of time, which I don't mind paying more taxes to try and make sure that we kind of band together and try and help each other out as much as we can. So those that have been furloughed, they've been paid at 80% for some of those jobs, and so it's just sort of again, like I say, I can see what a nightmare it is for any politician to think, okay, what's the right balance of trying to say, do we open it up again,
Yeah.
and how do we do it, and how do we do it safely so that we're not putting people's lives at risk. So
Jeez.
I sure would not want to be a politician this time. It's
Right.
just unreal.
Anywhere, anytime. Yeah. I mean, because you're obviously going to make mistakes no
Yeah,
matter what, man. Today here in Portland, downtown Portland, that county, Multnomah County, is where the majority of all the businesses are, where the majority of the people really are. And they just switched overnight. They changed, where they said, hey, you know what? We cannot open things up. They were going to today. Businesses were going to open today. So my friends that are business owners that own like clubs and restaurants got all of their inventory in. They got all this food now that's going to go to waste because they put a pause, and they're like,
yeah,
wow, we just threw all our eggs in the basket hoping that we can get
yeah.
things started
You
again.
can't win. Yeah,
Can't, yeah.
exactly.
And it's not, I'm sure like everybody's mad at the governor, and I'm sure she's like, look, it was that or people die, so
Yeah,
you just can't win. But and so, not to bring, the demeanor of all this down. This is just real stuff, figuring out how people navigate it with the money,
but then
with the health.
you had Jeff Metz on.
Yeah.
I look at how innovative he's been. Boy, he has worked his tail off
Dude.
to get things back and get his staff in. He cares about his employees.
Yeah.
He's got to be one of the best kind of employers that you could ever hope for. You can see why 5-star
Yeah.
is where it should be, because he's thinking about all the guitar students. He's thinking about
Yeah.
every angle of that, and he's really been innovative. So it's phenomenal.
I mean, he is, and he's got a great team of guys that are co-owners and partners in that business. But he goes every year to Congress to lobby for music education. He's
Yeah.
there with his mohawk and his 3-piece suit, where he'll go and he will just be a champion for that cause. And not only that, but the dude fronted a band that I was in for many years, and he's just an awesome human being. Really one of the best.
He's such a talented character, isn't he? Yeah.
He really is one of the best bandmates I've ever had, and even more important, just one of the best humans that I've ever met. When we get together, he's got a really weird blend of just bombastic, just bravado and humor. He's larger than life in a lot of ways, but he's also very sincere, very thorough, and he will look you, if you've got a one-on-one time, he will get to the inside of your core and be able to have a one-on-one about spirit. And I thought, man, I wish I knew this guy in high school, wish I knew this guy in college,
Exactly.
but
Yeah.
he's one of those guys,
Yeah.
like good dude to have in your court, man, because he, like, across the board, he's good for humans.
Tell him he needs to get a Western Aerial Greatest Hits album out, because
Oh
I
yeah.
won't love that.
Okay. I'll send you a copy of my favorite stuff that, man, just crazy stories with those guys, but, playing prisons, right? We played a prison.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I was gonna say Folsom County Blues all the way. So
yeah, man. Jeez. Yeah, that was nuts. On that gig that we did, I think we talked about it on his episode, but
yeah.
where I broke the cymbal and like all the inmates, because it was, they I don't know if I told you the story. When you go to the prison and you have this gig booked, you go through like 3 hours of everything. They go through all of your clothing, but then I've got a drum case, a hardware case that has thousands of wing nuts and screws, and they go through everything. They itemize everything on paper. So it takes hours to get through all this stuff. And then you get in there and you got to wear the orange vest so that if people riot, the guys up in the sniper towers know who not to shoot, right?
Oh, jeez.
I mean, because and the music is crazy. It's high energy rock and roll stuff. Like, do you know Rose Tattoo? Do you know that band? Like Australian Rose Tattoo?
I've heard of them. Yeah.
It's very AC/DC rock and roll. Just high energy rock and roll.
Yeah.
So we're kind of stirring up a little bit of energy vibe, right? And Joff is such a good dude bantering on camera, on the microphone. And so right now, between me and my camera is about a 2-foot gap between my nose and that's as far as you are from all the inmates, right? There are 3,500 inmates out on the yard with a little bit of police tape in between you and them, just to say, because the armed guards are on either side of us. And then there's sniper towers up there. And Joff is like, come on, man, let's rock, and it's almost a mosh pit, but these guys are just loving it. And I smack this cymbal, I break one of my cymbals, and a chunk of it, the size of probably a 50-cent piece, a jagged edged chunk, comes flying out right by that police tape, right up front. And of course, this, because like, man, that's a shank, right? This is going to be like, that's worth its weight in gold.
Jeez.
And the guards come over and kind of break that stuff up and make sure that they get this thing. But afterwards, the warden from the prison, it was a female. She came up and she said, "Hey, do you have a Sharpie?" And I'm like, "What? You don't want my autograph?" And she goes, "No, I want you to leave this symbol with us, sign it. We'll put it up in our office." And so now when you go to Oregon State Penitentiary, you look in the warden's office, there's my symbol right up there. Yep. Like,
awesome.
Yep. So I'm technically still in prison. It's crazy. Sorry.
Oh yeah, I was gonna say that it's one of those kinds of things that I can imagine. Not only did you have to go through the security going in, but then they would be counting everything as you go out as well too.
Where's the symbol? Where's that chunk? Yeah. Oh, you know what? Yeah, it's not like you can just give out some sticks at the end of the gig and just like no, that's contraband. But it's interesting that they have that as a cultural event. Those inmates pay for us to come in. There's a committee where they have a whole stage building organization where these guys learn how to run sound, run lights. The production guys are really, really good. They have pros that come in and train them, and they have to work. Their whatever job they have there in the prison goes towards paying for these skills that they get. They're learning a trade, so they're being productive and, and their rehabilitation. but they put on a serious show. It's a full on stage. They've got, like a full stage production. There's a little video out there, and I'll share some more video. I've got Analama, my old, band. We have
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
whole concert on vid, but even the tattoo artists, they're the ones that do the posters for the event. So they're really detailed posters for, they're just super tight, graphical, tattoo type stuff. Sorry,
Yeah.
I didn't expect to tell you this story. I'm sorry, buddy,
Oh,
but
no, that's
that's how
awesome.
this goes. But cool memories from it. Joff was the perfect guy to bring to prison for that. Just because he's
Well,
relatable.
he's uplifting. Yeah.
He is.
Yeah.
Oh, and there's always a dude, like at every gig, but there's a guy that came up to us. He's like, "Hey man, I've been watching your stuff. I go into the library and I watch every video on YouTube. I've been subscribing." This guy is so intense, and you're not
Yeah.
supposed to talk to the inmates. You're not supposed to have any, but he's like, "Look, man, I'm going to be out in 2 weeks. I'm going to be at your gig at the Doug Fur." And I'm like, right, there's
Right.
no way. But the dude showed up at the gig,
Amazing. Oh, that's
even
great.
more intense at the show than he was, like when he was in the joint. And I had to stop following him online because it was kind of freaking me out a little bit, because he came up and he's like, "Dude, so you're street over there on Torrey Pines?" And then I'm like, "Wait, then how do you know where my house is?" And he's like, "Yeah, I found your company through." And I'm like, "Okay, I'm just too public about my life, right?" It was really strange to him, but he's been fine and nothing has been happening to my house so far. I say that, but you already know that I should
Yeah.
not have been so public about some people tracking me down. You help.
Oh, exactly. So you guys have to kind of choose and very carefully evaluate which people you're going to chat to for too long. But that's one thing that I have to say, that when people that know you know how genuine you are, because I was thinking when you were in Wolverhampton,
Yeah.
the amount of just getting to Wolverhampton, first of all, was phenomenal. Because I saw Pando in there as well, and I introduced myself to him. And he'd literally just gotten out of this tiny car that he was stuffed into with all his luggage and everything. And you guys had to just sound check right on the spot. And
at showtime. Hold on, Jim. He froze up. Hey, Jim, hold tight. I can see when your internet goes down.
A blast.
Hey, Jim.
Watching it.
Hey, Jim, if you can hear me, hang tight. Hold tight. Hey, Jim.
I can.
All right. Hey, Jim.
Okay.
Yeah, you're. I can see when your internet goes down.
Can you hear me now?
You're back up. Yep. There you go. So Wolverhampton. Yeah, we got there. Sound checked right when it was time to do the show. And then what were you saying?
Exactly. I mean, so because I was out there, and but you guys put on such a great show, and it was interesting because I was chatting with some different folks along the way, and how they were just huge diehard fans along that were there to see this show, and you guys just followed through. And then not only after that, after the show was over, there were a lot of folks that you took the time just to talk to, and there's kind words, and gave out some sticks to some of them. It was nice to see, because it was just showed how professional you guys are.
Man, we're really sorry you froze up. We're really fortunate, right? I mean, yeah, okay, that day was nuts, right? The guy that put that tour together, we found out at that night, right, that he was a crook. He was a bad guy.
Yeah.
And so he didn't have transportation set up for us. And when we got there, we're at Gatwick Airport. And there's no, I think it's like a 3.5 hour drive, right, from there to Wolverhampton.
Yeah.
And we've been up all night because he booked us on a red eye, so we had no sleep. We had a bunch of gear, and they said, "Yeah, we're gonna have a limo bus there to pick you up." And then we get there and we're calling, and nobody's answering. And then the guy finally calls me back after an hour. I'm thinking, well, the show's in 4 hours from right now. And so it's a 3.5 hour drive. We haven't had sound check. Nobody's showered. We haven't, and by the time the Prius gets there to pick us up, we had 3 hours till gig time. So we showed up 20 minutes after the gig was started to do our sound check, and everybody was cool. Everybody in the crowd nobody was pissed that they had to wait, and they were gracious. And but I remember trying to get there in time because I told Mike and Cena, Mike, our singer, I said, hey,
Yeah.
I got a buddy on the guest list, and I get there, and I said, I need to make sure that my buddy Jim and his wife get in. And I remember them looking at me like, you do not have friends in Wolverhampton. And I said, I do. And they like, you just find somebody on the internet to put on the guest list. You did not. And I said, Cena, Mike, I have friends who are old classmates. He's a buddy of mine that we went to school together. And they found out, not only are we pals, right, and good homies, but I have friends kind of all over the place, and they just don't believe that. I'm like, they're like, do you really need to go out and hang out with these people after the show? And I said, some of these people I haven't seen in 30 years, right? And so for me, it's a blessing to get to go out there and reconnect with people, just like we're doing now. I mean, this whole thing, it's great, and we're blessed, man, that you're there in the middle of the UK, in the middle of nowhere, really, in the Midlands, right? And
Yes.
but Nuneaton, right? Is
Nuneaton, you're right.
yeah.
Spot on.
But that we can do this here, share our families together, and reminisce. I'm really feeling fortunate, that you tracked me down, man, and that we've been able to maintain the connection, because you've got a lot of fans, man. A lot of Great Falls dudes that we went to elementary school with or middle school with. I always see them, like holding reverence to Jim Jelvik and his 11th hour days. Oh, my buddy Rex Wilson said, you look like the accountant on Ghostbusters. Nice.
Hey, there we go.
That's that is,
a funny story that you say that. My wife also, she's a dance teacher as well, and she loves that show Dance Mom. So we went up to see Abby Lee Miller in Newcastle.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, so we go through and we're chatting with her, and she says, "You look like someone famous." I said, "Oh yeah, Brad Pitt."
Yeah.
No.
Bruce
Elton
Dickinson.
John.
Oh.
Elton John.
Oh man.
So I said, you know what, Abby, I don't like you anymore.
Oh man. You know what, dude? You could do worse. Elton John's laughing all the way to the bank, man. He's one of the most talented cats on the planet. So
exactly.
Yeah. You just got to get
I
more.
still would prefer Brad Pitt, but I'll take it.
She said, "No, Bruce Dickinson. I put my pants on one leg at a time." Yesterday, Nolan's best friend graduated from school. Nolan did last week. His friend graduated yesterday. On the way there, an old classmate of his saw Nolan. When you saw him, he'd grown up quite a bit, but now he's 6'2". He's got a goatee. He looks like a redheaded Ethan Hawke, but he's always so quiet and shy. Nolan is. And
he is. Yeah, he's the nicest kid you can ever meet. But I'd say so. Yeah, he's just a wonderful, wonderful kid. Yeah.
He is. But
very lucky.
This girl came up and she goes, "I know you." And he goes, "Oh yeah." He got a little, he acted a little cocky. She said, "It's and he goes, "Yeah, Ed Sheeran." She goes, "What?" Ed Sheeran. And I was so proud of him, that he without missing a beat, because that's just not something he would normally do. But I told him, I said, "You work on that, man, just like, all the way to the grave, because that will come in handy." When he was little, we were at a grocery store here walking around, and I had a bandana on, and I'm pushing groceries, and this woman kept watching me down the aisle, and then she came up right as I was checking out, and she's like, "It is you, isn't it?" I go, no. She goes, "Oh my God, you even sound just like him. It is you." And I said, "Who'd you think I am?" She said, "Leif Garrett." And I go, "Oh." I had just seen an episode of Leif Garrett on Celebrity Rehab, where Leif was pretty banged up, man. And I'm like, wow, that's and my kid's like, "What? Who's Leif Garrett?" I said, "Leif has seen better days."
You got to read Tiger Beat in 16 magazines.
He's seen better days since then, man. Oh, yeah. So his publicist is actually a friend of mine now and manager. She's probably watching this thing right now, because I told her I want to get Leif on the show, and we'll do a little doppelganger side by side.
Fantastic.
But
Now that you say that, I could see that if you get like the wig on with the curls and all that. Yeah.
well, he's like the hair's not there anymore, but he was
No,
bandana, so the
I
hair's
know
gone,
that. But...
and then a little shaven, and dark circles from no sleep,
yeah.
and burn it,
Yeah.
burn them or whatever. But
yeah.
I so what's next then for you guys? So you finished up this school year. So you've got this new gig as a teacher. You're looking at how to academically shift. Are you going to are they going to try to do school in person for the fall for you?
Well, have been the last couple of weeks now. We've been in, I've been in 3 days this week, 3 days last week with very, very small classes. Next week I'll be in with about eight children.
Really?
Yeah. So it's, we're kind of moving forward. Again, like I say, it's one of those things that I'm still a little bit cautious about, obviously, just because what's known as the R rating here is kind of picking up again with kind of things that have been going on. So, but we'll kind of just take it. We're being really careful to wash our hands, keep the windows open, and things ventilated, and
You teaching with a mask?
No, not with the mask. That's the one thing. That might be a little bit kind of scary for the kids to kind of see that. So it's interesting. It'll be quite a social experiment for the moment. We've got what we call bubbles. So I'll only be with these children. No one else will be teaching them. So it'll be myself and a classroom assistant with them. There's another classroom next door. It'll be same sort of thing where it's just those children together. So we eat lunch in the classroom at the moment. We go outside to break times. We stagger those so that we're not out at the same time together. So it's really quite different. It's sort of it's spooky sometimes because you think, is there anyone else in the school at the moment? Because it's quiet around other places. So they're trying that with just with year 6 children, like I said, the key worker children, where the parents, if they work in everything from trucking to medical to whatever it might be, they're in there, and then reception children and year 1 children, which is kind of a strange the younger ones they want to bring in, because it's a much different way of they're saying, well, okay, largely what they do with those particular year groups is a lot of their learning is through play, and so they're touching toys, various things.
Right.
They're saying, well, you've got to get rid of all that stuff on the one hand, but we're going to bring these ones in. And I would have thought, bring more of the older children in that will be able to understand a little bit better and understand the social distancing sides of things, because it's got to be really, really difficult if you've got these little tater tots, as I always like to call them. They want to be around each other. They want to hug each other. They want to hug the teachers, all those kind of things. And so interesting kind of choice. So we'll find out how that all works.
I can imagine though too, that those kids, like I was worried about kindergarten teachers and first graders trying to teach kids distance learning through, electronic format, rather be an iPad or a laptop or whatever, because, so much of it is tactile and really like hands-on seeing things that how can you even develop a curriculum that can really be geared towards that, especially if you're trying to teach kids to just limit screen time, right? And so
exactly.
I imagine that, there's no easy answer, but you guys are pilot testing this, and I would, you're not as congested with as many people as like say downtown London, right? So London probably doesn't have kids going back to schools right now, right? Are they still doing distance learning there? Do you know?
I think it's going to be pretty much all over the country where they're all. It's it's kind of down to the discretion of the head teachers, which is a good thing, I think, because they'll know best what's going to fit their particular school. The children that they have, the ones that are more vulnerable, because that's certainly a concern. Sometimes some of these kids that we've got in their schools, that might be the only meals that they get that are really that side of things, and they need the schools quite a bit. So it's so far, I think that's one thing the government has done well. They've given a little bit more discretion towards every school to say, okay, you do what you need to do to kind of make it work at the moment. So we'll see how it kind of goes from there.
Isn't that amazing? Really,
Yeah,
it's the Wild West in a huge way, right? That it's just
it certainly is. Yeah,
unprecedented. So all these organizations, schools, and other sorts of public-facing businesses that can. I mean, there are some limits in place or restrictions in place, but for the most part, kind of just flying by the seat of their pants to see what works. And
exactly.
it,
Yeah,
and what a crazy time we live in, right? It
it
really,
very much is. Yeah,
I, yeah,
it's unbelievable. Uh, it's one of those kind of things that, I've always been loved the science side of things, and I always loved microbiology, and I always found it fascinating. And I always thought, somewhere along the line, something like this is going to happen. But
yeah,
it's one of those things you just don't think it's going to happen in your lifetime, if that makes sense.
yeah.
And here it is, and here we are. And so it's just seeing, how as humanity, how we're going to kind of face it all together, and hopefully be supportive of each other. By
Yeah.
the way, the glasses. Oh,
Thank you. Yeah, man.
yeah,
I
I
had to,
remember that day.
the day that I tested them out and had you guys all
You betcha.
help me
Yeah.
pilot. Yeah. I man, I just I noticed that the more time I have in front of the screen, the more time I need the glasses now, So
I was gonna say, yeah, it's us old guys, as we get there. So
yeah.
I've already hit the 50 mark. So you can still
But
call me the old part at the
I
moment.
just
And
I'm almost there, man. I'm almost there. You should come down and hang out with me on my 50th in Cancun with Billy Idol and Tesla and Cheap Trick for
I'll
easy.
tell you what a phenomenal thing that would be, wouldn't it? Because I mean, Billy Idol, I was always a huge fan of. That was uh, I've always, I've never kind of, I loved hard rock.
Yeah,
Yes,
yeah,
that was always kind of the one thing I liked playing a lot. But man, the one thing that with the 80s, there was such a diversity of music. There were no rules. All the rule books were thrown out.
right.
You had the likes of, Billy Idol, who was punk, but he had one of the best heavy metal guitarists with him.
Oh,
And
Steve
musically,
Stevens.
yeah,
Yeah,
Steve Stevens is just unreal. And then Cheap Trick, the things that they did, the greatest live song of all time, as far as I'm concerned, "I Want You to Want Me," is
yeah.
will never be surpassed. Yeah, so that'll be just amazing. I envy on that one, because that'll be just so much fun. And
No,
Tesla, man,
there's no reason you can't go. There's a Great Falls or a Bozeman native that's going to be there too. Janet Gardner from Vixen. She's
for Vixen, yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
Oh, check this out. Okay, I hadn't announced this before, but this is the lineup. It's not just Cheap Trick, Tesla, and Billy Idol, but those are the ones that I'm excited for hanging out with on my 50th birthday. Billy Idol's the headliner. Cheap Trick, Belinda Carlisle, Little River Band, The Hooters,
Oh,
Tesla, Howard Jones, Sheena Easton, Wang Chung,
oh my
Firehouse,
goodness.
Rob Bass, Vixen, Dramarama, CNC Music Factory, The Jets, Donnie Iris. Remember Donnie Iris? Aaliyah, remember
Yeah,
that?
yeah.
My buddies in the Reflex, they're a great 80s sort of cover tribute thing. And Rockstar, this amazing 80s hairband tribute from Detroit. These guys are badass. And
Oh,
then
fantastic.
these DJs are all buddies of mine too, man. DJ Stephen Wade, DJ Christopher J is Chris Olivas, the drummer from Berlin,
Wow.
who he's actually my guest on the show this week. I have to let me make sure what day. Chris is on Tuesday, the 16th. So Chris played drums for Berlin for 20 years, and he's man, he's just a wicked drummer and one of the best human beings on the planet. He's got lots of amazing 80s rock star stories. So
Cool.
so that should have been enough of a sales pitch. You go to 80s in the sand.rocks and then come join me on my 50th birthday. You, Sarah,
All right.
you can. How old is Thomas now?
17.
Oh wow! And when's his 18th birthday?
March. No, February 15th. Yeah, sorry. Katie's
Wow.
March. Yeah.
Yeah.
I was,
Wow.
I almost had to name the kid Valentino, because he was born on the 15th of February. So
Would you have called him Valentino Del?
no, I wouldn't
Yeah.
really call him that. He would kill me.
But well, he wants to be an actor, right? So theater is all.
I'll tell you what. Yeah, he is it's funny, because he's very much like Nolan in a lot of ways. Very, very shy. But when he gets on stage, it's just a transformation. We tend to brag about our kids, but he is really quite an amazing actor. I'll never forget, we'd signed him up for this one children's talent agency, and he went down for this audition for a Sony PlayStation commercial.
Okay.
And we were sort of saying, well, this will be a good experience for you. You know, your first time on this. Just enjoy it and see what you can learn from it.
Expecting
Kid
him to
comes
just
out.
send home.
The kid comes out. He's got the part.
Wow, that's first gig.
Yeah, well,
That's
except for the other side that you learn sometimes is things don't always work out because Sony pulled the plug on that particular ad spot and canceled it all. So it was like,
so he did the whole recording, got paid, but he didn't get
well,
the distribution.
well, it was one of those things that you know, all the audition for it, you know, 'cause he was against about 40 other kids for the same thing, and they were all ones that had been in the industry and down that way.
Oh yeah.
And we just got it. So Sarah and I were both shocked.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you want him to
But,
have to work a little harder for it, right? Get like shot
yeah.
down and have to go down and eat like soup out of a dog food can or something for a while. And but
Yeah. Well, his grandfather was Jessica's father was a phenomenal actor himself and was a Shakespearean actor and had been on a lot of stages. In fact, it's interesting. There's actually a Facebook group out for him, so he must have picked it up from him. But it was always so funny because Thomas used to always do impressions of his grandfather, put on the cap and the glasses and the walking stick and kind of hobble along. And
oh
no,
man,
Thomas,
he's gonna be so mad at you for telling him that story now because he's that, you know, he's so hip. He's such a hip teenager. No, man,
yeah.
your kids are wonderful. I do. I've got so much respect for them. My boys both love the heck out of Thomas, and they know that Katie, I feel like, is like my little niece. You know, I really do.
Exactly. Yeah.
Oh,
She's always waiting for you. So when's Kevin coming? I'm making some more bracelets. So it's like,
oh man, is she still there, or did she go to bed?
I think she's been up later than normal because of all this thing that we have a late start with the. Oops.
Oh, look at that.
You just turned the lights off on me here.
That was saying, all right, Dad, it's time to go to bed.
Sarah. She's I can see her. She's laughing in there. So she's
Curfew.
Laughing at me, so yeah. But no, it's yeah, she's such a little character, but yeah, she's been pretty resilient considering everything with this. But boy, is she a pain in the neck to try and teach because we have the maths lessons with her. We've got to have Mr. Bear sitting here. We've got this bear here. Now, little bear, you should do this problem here. It's like, Katie, this is you know, a
wait,
30-minute math lesson.
She's trying to get the bears to do her homework for her.
Well, no, she just wants to make sure that bear is also getting an education too.
Oh yeah, well, you know, she's conscientious.
Yeah. Creative side to her. So, and that's the nice thing. It's like I say, you know, it's you know, seeing kind of where the talents for our kids lie. Because obviously, I always would hope that Thomas might pick up something music wise, but it was acting for him. And Katie, she's got her ukulele, so we'll see what kind of happens as she gets older.
Oh my God.
As we kind of go along. So, and speaking of that, you know, I just wanted to have a quick shout out to Mr. Capital K.
Oh.
Bought the album on iTunes. I'm not sure exactly what kind of royalties he gets from it. Hopefully, they give him the.
Oh, you disappeared.
Yeah.
What Jim? You disappeared right at the royalties. I think that was iTunes. Hey, Jim. Jim.
Oh yeah.
You froze up right then. That was the most important part. You bought my kid's album on iTunes. I love that. That was.
Yes. Well, I was gonna say, and he's so talented on that. My problem is trying to think. Gosh, I want to see him in a progressive band.
Oh, right, because that's his thing.
Yeah, he's got these two balls to juggle basically, and figure out which one is the one to go for. So I've just decided he's going to have to do something where he sets up some sort of electronic kit and does kind of a hip hop drumming and singing kind of thing, because he's got the goods for it all, which is great. So
thank you.
I love listening to him do the Neil Peart Rush cover. Great, yeah.
I wanted to play behind himself too. I've been asking him to do that for a while. I think it's a good a blend of his talents, but we'll just see, man. As a parent, you just encourage him and you just let him do what he does, and hopefully he avoids speed bumps along the way. But man, it's been really fun to watch how you navigate this whole thing as a parent, as a teacher, as a partner, and as a fellow Montanan and my brother.
You bet.
I'm grateful that these kids have you as a role model, a bit more than anything else. Really, man, the kids of our future need to have people that are invested like you are. And Sarah, I'm going to love the fact that Sarah is so driven to help these kids in theater and drama and just, develop their creative side, because it's important right now, especially.
You bet. Well, thank you so much for having me tonight. It's like, catching up on old times, all that, which is fantastic. So absolutely love it.
Thank you, buddy. Have a beautiful weekend. Thank you for staying up late for me. And
no worries.
Man, thanks again for all the support that you've always given me, man.
It'll keep coming your way, because, like I say, I'm loving it. It just it always brightens my day, and man, I've learned a lot about things. Like if anyone hasn't seen like the Ed Martinez one that you did. Oh,
I know, dude. It's not even fair. The guy is played with everybody. When we're sitting here talking about our gig in like Montana, and he's like, "Oh yeah," So Nile Rodgers called me up, and all of a sudden Stevie Wonder hires me for an audition, and I'm like, "Okay, all right."
Yeah,
it's like talking to Jennifer. It's the same thing, just different levels, but they're all just wonderful humans, man.
Exactly.
I pinch
myself.
myself.
That's what makes it so fun. You have that great disposition of being able to just sit with people and just enjoy the stories, which is perfect.
Whenever I gig with them all, right, I just have to sit there and go, okay, I know we got to play, but just tell me a story about, Jeff Beck, or tell me the story about whatever. Yeah. I think that I'm so fortunate to have just run across so many remarkable people, and I want to just call them all out, and so there's never an end of the guests, because I get some cool peeps. So I thank you, man.
Yeah. A request from me.
Yep.
Can you get the Mighty MQ on?
I just Alan Hunter and I talked just off camera, so we'll see. Let's see if I can. I already showed you the pictures of Martha and I with my. Yeah. We'll see if. Let's see. I'm just seeing if he wrote back about it. Okay. Yeah, he said it'd be my pleasure. So we'll see. Martha Quinn would be a remarkable one. I really enjoyed.
Like I said,
do I get to say goodnight to Katie?
My first crush.
Oh, nice.
Katie, you can say goodnight. Come here.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, this is the beautiful Katie Hjelvik. Hello, sweetie. How are you doing?
Hi.
You have anything? You have anything you want to say to my friends here in America?
No.
Yeah.
Chatty as usual.
How about say stay safe, everyone?
You say stay safe, everybody.
Stay safe, everybody.
Thank you.
I think she's a bit tired.
I don't blame her.
Usually she doesn't stop, but
I know. Yeah, that's all right. The camera, she's intimidated.
Yeah.
Listen, man. It's been fun catching up. I can't wait to see you in person soon.
You bet.
I love the hang, man. My best to you and your family, and stay safe yourself, my friend.
Sounds great. Thanks again, Kevin.
Don't forget to watch abductedbythe80s.com tomorrow, 11 a.m. Pacific.
I'll be there, definitely. And say hello to the boys for me, please.
I will. Thanks, pal.
Fantastic. Yeah.
All right. Take care.
Take care.
All right. Bye.